Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's quite a pertinent topic that we're covering in this space there, the sustainability aspect on the airports there. I think in terms of the initiatives, there's quite a bit around sustainability, which is coming across all governments, and not only the governments, but also the enterprises which are coming along with it. So if I just take your views onto it, I'll maybe start with the very basic stuff in terms of how do you really define sustainability within GMR? What is your definition of it, and how are you going about building that focus around that?
So it's not about GMR alone. It's sustainability per se. Now, generally people tend to think that sustainable means only the environment aspects of it. So that's, in my opinion, that is not sustainability at all. Sustainability involves financial sustainability. Sustainability involved of course, environment is one angle. Then there are societal things. There are sustainability in terms of, there are model actually, GRI, G4 model available. And that is a globally accepted platform or model which everybody follows. And that involves corporate governance also as one of the aspects. So and we being in the aviation industry, and we always say that GMR always think ahead of time. We build tomorrow, today. So we also in terms of sustainability has worked in a great manner. Not only, say for example, when we build a new airport, we are mindful of the fact that we need to conserve energy, and we need to see that the carbon footprints are minimum. We try to reduce balanced source of power. Like in Delhi airport recently, all of you must have read the report that we are powering the airport from one of the hydropower projects that we have recently started, and also we have solar power panels. So that's the start with. We will, as we go along, we will further discuss.
I'm sure. Pradeep, would any views from your side on this?
So we as NEC are the global ICT leaders in developing technologies. And in all our missions, what we do across the globe, the core value of NEC's development and investment in technology is based on global UN's Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 such goals to create a society which will sustain itself and which also helps the overall upliftment of the life and society, people, and enhance and in a way the technology interventions in making society better. And most of the solutions what NEC had created globally, we're trying to bring them in India. And specific to, if I ask to aviation sector, at either at air side or passenger side, at both sides, we are trying to see how technology can intervene to make airport more efficient, whether it is energy conservation or whether how do we reduce the utilization of power in the airport to reduce the footprint, as I said. There are a lot of technologies what we have developed. Today, we are also demonstrating certain technologies what we in fact implementing in India to create a better experience of the passengers in the airport, reduce the time spent in the airport, and also increase the efficiency of the process in the airport by the intervention of the technology in biometrics, for that matter. So NEC as an organization, we are doing a lot of efforts in this direction to create a better world by utilizing the technology interventions wherever it is possible. For example, one of the key aspect of it is the digitalization which is happening across the globe. We are part of 5G development. We are also ensuring the people which are at remote locations can get the power of data. We have recently connected the mainland India with Andaman Nicobar Islands using submarine cable. Now these people have they didn't have the power, mobile applications usage in Andaman 2 years back, right? Now they're creating a lot of data. And the data which is created by this digitization, huge data, how do now I use this data for what you just presented a couple of minutes back? Data is a power now. even in airport scenario, the data which is created, how do we monetize this data? This is next step what we are going to intervene and bring a solutions to customers like GMR.
Excellent. I think it just gave me another question to just probably pin down you on as well. So, with a data monetization kind of a framework, and specifically because individually, even if in case there are airports who are doing their bit, it's an ecosystem that you're going to be looking at, right? So, where do you see the foreplay of data monetization really coming in on the sustainability part to be able to encompass the complete stakeholders that you're looking at? Because I mean, there are various stakeholders with their own objectives, with their own aims around doing about data monetization for sustainability aspect of it.
To begin with, the most important aspect, especially in a public domain data, is in ensuring the security of the data. There are different organizations and stakeholders in an airport environment. I would rather give an example of smart cities where we are actively involved right now. By the way, we are implementing almost 7 smart cities in India as an MSI. Most of the project, when is conceived by smart city missions, they're creating a lot of data, but these data models are independently being developed and implemented. So one smart city, they currently do not have capability to talk to other smart city.
Who owns the data then?
So the city administration holds the data for that city. But for example, city X, the data what they created, as of now, city B cannot use the data and create new models and monetize that, right? So this is a challenge which is also there for aviation industry as such. So how do we, first of all, the platform to make sure the data is interoperable. So if one system which is developed or implemented at GMR, can other airport at Bangalore use the data? First of all, that infrastructure has to be developed. And we are leveraging our global strength of ICT to ensure that the platform is ready. Once the platform is ready, the structure is ready. Now we have a data which has to be mined. So data mining is next step. Data lake is next step, where we are doing a lot of AI-driven solutions, what we are creating in the market. And then we create new models and use cases to monetize. Of course, this is policy decision of various stakeholders. Airline holds the most of the data for passengers. So there are a lot of, currently there are a lot of bottlenecks which government has to intervene and make sure this data is, first of all, platform has to be ready, where we are currently doing a lot of investment. Second is the use cases to be created with support from the stakeholders like GMR Airport or BCAS, for example. I met with one of the gentlemen from BCAS who's the key member for deciding how the data will be used. And then come the next step, how do we monetize the data? That part is, I think, easy.
Interesting. Thanks, Pradeep. I think this leads up for me to ask a question to you. From a GMR perspective, what are the kind of technologies that you're implementing, and do you see data as also an important aspect in terms of the sustainability efforts coming through?
Well, as I said, that we always kind of, we always set example for others in the industry. We try to be industry leader. Now, our first primary objective is to involve all the ecosystem players, the stakeholders. The airport operator alone cannot do things. That's the first thing. Now, in terms of technology, means it should be for whom we are implementing any technology which will kind of facilitate movement of the passengers. Airlines will get benefited, ground handlers, our sovereign service provider. So our first objective is always how to get everybody on boarded. Even if, say, for example, when we are building new airports and trying to see that how seamless integrations or seamless movement of passengers, touchless movement of passengers happens, those technologies that we do in consultations with the stakeholders, and we try to see that touch points where generally the challenges comes, or the areas where we need to develop technologies. Now, say for example, I was talking about how we on sustainable front. Now, the design itself of the terminal starts from, or the airside layout, or say for example, Aerocity, or in the the runway lighting, everywhere, or the water consumptions. Everywhere we try to engage with the stakeholders, whether it is for technology or anything else, and try to see that it is for the ecosystem per se.
Which is fine, but what I'm really trying to understand is
Yes.
this will all be driven by goals that you're setting up for sustainability. Could you throw some light in terms of what your sustainability goals and how are you going about meeting them?
Yeah, of course, our sustainability goals are, is matching with the overall India's commitment that we would be, zero emission by 2050, I guess. That's what our commitment. So we are working towards that. And there are many steps that we have taken, right from kind of the energy source that we are taking. We are trying to see that coal-based dependency on the coal-based powers are reduced. That's why we have moved towards hydropower. We have in 2014 actually we have first installed solar power in our airports. Then if you see right from the beginning, there are if you see our terminal, the design itself, these are like daylighting is facilitated so that the requirement of lights are less. We have first airport that we have implemented LED lights in our airport, which reduces the consumption of electricity to a great extent. We have done it in a gradual manner. So there are many steps. There are plenty steps that we have taken to ensure that actually we walk the talk and we do things what we believe, and we try to take everybody kind of with us. There are challenges. We cannot implement few things just like that. So we have to kind of be mindful of that. That's what in our.
Thank you. Thank you. So Pradeep, since you've been there doing all the sustainability-led solutions altogether, not just talking about India, elsewhere as well, could you throw some light in terms of some of the implementations that you've done and what are the challenges that you really faced around in these environments there?
So, as I just mentioned to you a couple of minutes back, NEC is a global corporation based out of Japan. And 50% of the business what we do is outside Japan. So, especially in Europe, the African countries and other countries which are developing or not yet reached to the mark where they can sustain their own societies, NEC is doing a lot of work there, especially in agriculture, intervention by IoT sensors, helping them in crop production and estimation of the crop, helping them in marketing their products across the globe. We are doing also some automation in fisheries to help. So one of the key the society development goals of United Nations is no poverty, food for everyone. Right? These are some of the other sustainability goals from UN. And when NEC designs solutions, we keep that in mind. The basic essence of any solution what we develop is how do we make society better. So in India also, for example, the National ID program, the Aadhaar program is done by us. So the backend engine which creates unique identity is us, and we are very proud to do that, implement this project. And when we do this project, it created an impact on the Indian citizens. Millions of people had now bank accounts. The direct benefit goes to them, right? So,
but I understand, Pradeep. But let's focus on purely on the airport side of it. If in case there are certain things that you've done globally, which are more on the sustainability aspect of things, is what we really would want to focus.
So, as Sir also mentioned, energy conservation is the most important, path where we can take for sustainability. In almost 4 to 5 airports in Europe, we have implemented sensor-based analysis of where we are consuming how much energy. And based on that, we created a dashboard for the airport operators to understand why and where we are consuming how much energy at what time, and then how do we reduce that energy consumption based on various IoT sensors at the airport. This is one which I can remind. It's an example.
Smart lighting, smart water, these kind of
First
solutions.
is analysis of where the energy is consumed, at what point, at which part of the airport we are consuming how much energy. So there are retail shops, how much energy is consumed there, at what time, for example, peak is in the morning, right? In the night time, evening time, the consumption is less. So one is consumption of energy is how much energy is consumed at what point, at what time, and then intervene through some technology to reduce that. Right. So that these kind of projects, what we have done in Heathrow Airport is one example where we have implemented such solution.
So thanks, Pradeep. I think that makes a lot of difference there. But just on to I think both of you now. Uh, I covered this in my presentation as well. So I look at sustainability as an overall thing, right? While you take care of the environment, it's also important to look at the business sustainability aspect, which is kind of related to IT or digital. Do you have a view on those things as well in terms of how can IT be more sustainable and how can business be more sustainable as well? Because you're looking at an uncertain environment today with Ukraine and oil prices going high, inflation going exceedingly high. In these kind of environments, a very dynamic environment. How do we really want to sustain ourselves in this kind of environment? Forget about the environment there.
That's right. I mean, the kind of growth and the the kind of increment which is happening in the especially airport domain. If you see the people who are people who are traveling now, it increased manifold, and the pandemic had in fact increased that manifold. So our airports are not ready for that these many passengers. To begin with, for business sustainability, if you want to ask, how do we ensure that currently what is happening? A lot of people travel at certain period of time, but in certain other period of time, people are not traveling that much, right? So then there are a lot of load in the infrastructure at airport to ensure passenger travel and the experience of passenger at the airport. For example, in the morning there are rush hours. So from technology perspective, we can intervene to some extent. For example, if efficiently using the resources of the airport, right? And then of course operators like GMR, they have to make sure that how do they increase the infrastructure in a way that it doesn't put a lot of pressure on the rest of the environment, but still manage the demand from the passengers for travel.
It's more than not the capacity issue to a large extent. How do you manage capacity? How do you manage the flow, right? If I can probably ask from your side.
Yeah. See, before I go into that aspects, I would like to park it for a while. You talked about sustainability in an overall aspects, and you also talked about economic sustainability, right? So you see, in the National Council of Economic and Applied Research has done a study on Delhi Airport. I don't know whether you have seen that report. It is publicly available. You know, the economic vibrancy that has been created by airports. Now, it's not just the economic activity happens in and around the passenger movement per se, but then there are many others. See, cargo is one area where we always tend to forget. And the economic activity around cargo, the Delhi airport, the kind of growth that we have seen in India, we have benchmarked with Hong Kong, and now we are number one in terms of volumes. We have crossed 1 million figure before pre-COVID, and we are now almost touching that. So that is one area, and where we have put in a lot of effort. There are 2 cargo operators. A lot of people are getting employment, and in overall in and around Delhi airport, 225,000 people come for work every day. Now that includes the AeroCity. Some of you must have seen the great work that we have done. Now that is also part of sustainability, where people get employment, government gets revenue through multiple, not only from the airport operators' revenue share, but from multiple channels, multiple streams. That is also a kind of And in terms of societal benefits, we have always believed that we start work before our project starts. We have our own kind of CSR arm that is called JMRVF, and we wherever we go, we just try to develop or build skill development institutes, so that the people in and around the society or in and around the airports we kind of equip them with skills, competency, so that they find employment not only in airports but in other segments. Like in currently we have a skill development center near gate number 15. Some of you who are familiar with the layout of Delhi airport, just outside the gate number 15, we have and we train in almost 12 streams, starting from kind of electrical. We train people on the earth moving equipment. We train people on airport lounge, retail. So there are many streams, and we have industry partner as well. So that is also a kind of sustainability thing. The third thing, we follow business excellence model. Now that's a Malcolm Baldrige model that we adopt, and we have our own design model, GMR business excellence model, but that is based on what Malcolm Baldrige is all about. Now there also, we have on a fundamental basis, on an elemental level, there are activities that we have to perform to not just for lip service, but actually to get the to follow the model. So that is the overall perspective of GMR sustainability model. And now the next question that you said is about how capacity is being handled. See, capacity is something that we always, let's say, a trade-off. That's what we were trying. If we build a new terminal, maybe the airlines or other people will start saying, oh, airport operator has, built a terminal just to increase the UDF. That is putting pressure on the people. That's the general kind of tendency to do so. What we try to do, you must have seen in we always try to optimize sweating the asset. Whatever infrastructure resources that we have, we first try to see that how to maximize the utilizations in whatever, that's to bring in efficiency. Now, when you bring in efficiency in the system, it also brings, loads on the, per passenger consumption of power also get reduced. If we try to have, say, for example, an innovative, in security systems, something where you have double layer or triple layer kind of automatic tray retrieval system, ATRS, that we are calling today. We have tried that. So there are many things we try which will ultimately, say, for example, simulations. We are always trying to have simulations in our terminals. We try to get the concepts of theory of constants. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. That is a innovative, that is a wonderful concept generally followed in manufacturing industry. We try to do that so that, in anywhere there is a processing of passengers or processing of anything, input, output is there you can bring in efficiency. We have done all such things. So, capacity wise, we always first see that how to sweat the asset, whatever that we have, how to maximize it. Now, sometime in doing so, sometime it put strains on the travelers as well. That's true, but then that is how you experiment and that is how you evolve and bring in new things. Okay? So that's what our take. And we are spending a huge sum in all our airports in Delhi, in Hyderabad. Delhi, we are spending almost 10,000 crore. We have got a new runway ready, 4th runway. So that, there is no hovering around. There is plenty of slots available. There are plenty of capacity available with us. So that there is no capacity constraints. There is a Eastern Cross taxiway that we are building. That's a huge boost to the passengers and the airlines.
Sure. Thanks, Sudhir. So just on to that, I think you fairly made us understand what all things you're doing. Now, what I wanted to understand from you is a lot of
saying 2 minutes. Saying that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. So, considering that, this initiative is a very enlarged initiative, and
which one is it?
The sustainability aspect of it is extremely a large initiative.
Yes.
and typically in most of the organizations, you have chief sustainability officer to go about overseeing these developments. Do you have this kind of a model as well, where there are people who are overseeing this as a complete responsibility for themselves?
Well, we do not have a dedicated persons. Now, sustainability is something is all pervasive. That's what we believe in. As I said that we follow business excellence model. Now, when we said that, it's a very systematic and structured model. And we do not have a dedicated person for it, but each one of us are mindful. We know that what is to be done, what is the effort that we need to put, and we do not have a
So you mean to say the goals are percolated down to every team, and the team owns up?
each one of us, our business excellence model, whoever comes from GMR, they know that how important it is and how it is an integrated model. And when we follow that, everybody knows that what is their role, including the sustainability, the materiality index, and everything. We have our the environment team generally anchor this. We have persons on that, but all of us have the responsibility. Each one of us are responsible for this.
Perfect. Okay. Pradeep, maybe just last question to you as well. In your parlance, considering the global experience that you've got, organizations which have really excelled in sustainability, what has been the defining factor for them in terms of technology, as also in terms of the ownership, in terms of who does the sustainability aspect around the structure part?
I think from NEC's perspective, which is a leading ICT company as such, we create solutions from submarine cable to satellite and anything IT in between, which touches anyhow the life of human being in every aspect. So we have solutions everywhere, right? So when we think about solutions, we think human at center of it, and then create solution model around it. So for us, sustainability becomes the key pillar of all our doing whatever we do.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Pradeep. So I have a question to ask. Yeah. So actually, in the last presentation you showed about data exchange and interoperability, which is mentioned by Pradeep. So I wanted to actually understand. I was part of dialing and Visual also, and I was driving the IT commercial and was building a lot of business cases and interacting with the airlines. So the data that we are talking about, of course, everybody knows that data is the key thing right now. And airport also, generate revenue from the common services with the data. And the airlines also are running their business on the data. In fact, every other stakeholder, be it ground handler, be it retailer, concessionaire, or if we're taking an example of hospitality, which is Aerocity and Airport say, and another stakeholders. So, see, every business is running every different stakeholders are running their business on the data, on which they are actually building up their business, and that's where their core business is. So, when you have talked about information data exchange or interoperability, it is actually little far from present because it is more challenging, because I see there's a lot of challenge in sharing the information, especially between airlines and airports. Before we try it and figure it out, try to find out a different ways smart ways to get the data. So as Pradeep has said that they have done international airports also. So is there any example where this has been done, or if it is not, what are the steps that you think that you can have the data exchange possible? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your question. So let me just first of all answer your question on to why is this possible, and then probably Pradeep can take over in terms of his case studies there. See, to our understanding, what happens today in the world, in the airport area or the aviation sector as such, is that each of the stakeholders have a certain amount of data which they are having in silos. If you talk about airlines, airlines themselves have a huge set of data which is working in silos. There's no consolidation. There's some amount of consolidation which is coming up. Then there's airports which is consolidating a huge amount of data as far as everyday passenger data is concerned or operational data is concerned. But somewhere down the line, they're not able to, or they're not sharing this data enough to the stakeholders as well. Similarly, on the other fronts there. Now, the point is basically who takes the ownership, right? Why would you want to share data? The important aspect is until you don't get something out of it, you will never be willing to share this data. The important aspect is if you're able to build a monetization engine over it, which is to say that, okay, I am willing to share data, but provided I'm able to get monetized over it. So there's some amount of, you would say, an incentive for someone who's managing that data. Why is it beneficial for an airline? Is because they're able to get enough data about the passenger flow from the airport. If it goes the other way around as well, if airlines are able to share the data at a monetization level, airports get significant information about the customer, which completely transforms the way the air travel today can happen. The problem is basically about the mindset, about ensuring that you're able to bring about a parallel set of thinking, shared level of thinking, and a shared level of seeing the system as an ecosystem, as one single system rather than multiple systems together. That will only happen if in case you bring in the monetization piece, and that's my understanding.
Yeah. So I completely understand, and it's a right goal, but it's like a generic. Right? We're talking about very generic. There is no specific because, as I said, every monetization, everybody is doing monetization based on their business model, which is on the data. Right? But there is no synchronization. There is no integration there.
If you allow. See, the challenge started because most of these data creation tools or machines, they are proprietary in nature. When the advancement of IT began, 20 years back or 30 years back, most of these are proprietary systems. I can give you an example of my own solutions, especially we are leaders in the identity management systems. So when we started developing fingerprint systems for automating identification, the technology what we use is created by 20 years of research. So we want to hold that data creation in our own pocket. The template what we generate from an image, it's an image processing tool, right? I don't want to share it with him because then my future business will get hampered. So that bottleneck it had created silo systems. If it is a structured data, SQL, DB2 or Oracle, it is easy to create the integration layer. But if it is a system which is created through machine or data created through machine, this data is not interoperable right now because individual companies who develop those systems, they created models so that others, if you later on want to use this data, you need to call that as that OEM, right? That is the reason it is like that. So now it is a required, so this problem was felt long ago. So ISO, for example, they created a lot of structure. Even if you go for take an example of fingerprint system. Now, anywhere you go, all the projects and government conceive or any organization conceive the project, they say the template of fingerprint has to be ISO, certain specification is there. Now, this will somehow come to every aspect of the business. It came to biometrics, it will come to other part of it slowly, right? Because we're still at that level.
So see, this is basically from the regulatory purpose, or maybe from the security or the customer experience of the network, not from the information exchange between the business hours. So that is what I meant.
Can I just give you an example? You were asking for example. May not be completely airport centric, but I'll just give you Lufthansa Airlines. BCG did a consulting exercise with Lufthansa, and I think this information is available all across. You can probably browse through as well, saying that BCG worked and helped build a data platform for Lufthansa for the internal operations. Now they've gone further ahead, saying that they've got into a joint partnership, and they're saying we will use this particular platform for other airlines as well. If Lufthansa would have been struck down with saying that, okay, it's my data, why should I use, or why should I get this access to another airline? This never happened. Why? Because they're monetizing this particular data, and they're able to use the system across and the intelligence across for multiple airlines to get benefited from. So at the end of it, monetization today is extremely important to see benefits coming out of the platform sharing as well. That's going to be important. Now, whether airports have done it, probably will need some research, but the way it needs to be done, technology is available, you have the systems available, and the mindset needs to probably change. That will be my answer to it.
There is a project what we have done with Star Alliance. We must be doing Star Alliance as a it's a consortium of so many airlines. So we are creating a biometric hub for Star Alliance. So whoever is the member of Star Alliance, all airlines data, it is coming into this platform for passenger data acquisition. And then we use this data for passengers at various airports, right? So this is one example which I can quote that slowly things are moving in that direction, which will create a platform for multiple usage of data.
You're going to start somewhere is what we'll probably put it.
Really sorry for the interruption, sir. We need to close the discussions now.
Orchestrating a brighter world. NEC.